Right, I'll try and explain the basics of how my diet works for the 1 year time trial. The easiest way of explaining it, I suppose, is well, explaining the very basics of it is sort of, if you look at a protein shake like this. You see this protein shake, it's got 45 grams of carbohydrate, 45 grams of protein a serving. That's a lot more than you'd get in one serving of sort of meat or fish, cheese or whatever. But what happens with the protein shake is that you can't absorb it very quickly. Although there's more protein in the shake than there is in the sort of portion of meat or cheese or whatever. Because you can't absorb the shake very quickly, it will just basically go through you and down the toilet. It's a bit like trying to drink from a running tap instead of from a glass. The sort of protein shake is sort of like the tap where there's a lot more water, a lot more protein, and the sort of meat, cheese, lentils, whatever, that would be like your sort of drinking from a glass where there's not so much water there or not so much protein there, but you can absorb it, so you take it all in. With energy and carbs, you've got a thing called the glycemic index, and that's sort of a similar thing. It's basically how quickly the sort of carbohydrate releases and turns into sugar, so you can basically use it. Sort of everyone knows that about taking sugar, just running on sugar, you basically take sugar, get a big high from it, then the insulin sort of takes it all, gives you the go. You get peaks and troughs of energy. You get the sugar highs and you get the crashes as well. So you've got to keep feeding yourself with sugar. Sort of eating wheat and stuff like that's very similar. It's not as bad, but you still sort of end up with a lot of insulin sort of running around the system trying to deal with all this sort of excess sort of blood sugar levels. What I did before I sort of went straight into the diet I had to do an adaptation phase, and that was very simply eating nothing but sort of vegetables and protein for about 2 weeks. So I wasn't eating anything with carbohydrates except for vegetables, which there is a small amount there. And this sort of caused people a lot of confusion at the time, because there's sort of all these things going around. I was losing weight, and which is true. I lost 5 kilos in 10 days, which is 500 grams a day. But there's always rumours going around that I've gone keto and I was on zero sugar and all that sort of thing. It's not really true. We knew that I was adapting to the diet, because what happened was, after about 10 days, after I'd lost 5 kilos, my weight got stable. I stopped losing weight, and that's basically how we know that my insulin wasn't going quite so high once I was eating, because basically as soon as you put food in your mouth, it sort of triggers off a chemical reaction. It sort of sends messages down to the sort of system to produce insulin and how much. So I always eat protein first. Every meal I always have to eat protein first, because as soon as you pop it into your mouth, it sort of sends a signal to your liver and everything. It's all right. There's sort of not lots of sugar and stuff coming in here. We won't bother making much insulin. But it's a bit of a trick, because you could eat sugary stuff after it, but you wouldn't produce quite so much insulin. The other thing is, after about a week or so of my adaptation, we started adding olive oil onto my vegetables. And apart from the sort of health benefits of olive oil, it sort of reduces the bad cholesterol, and it's a good sort of fat energy source. It also reduces the glycemic index of the vegetables I was eating. If I'd have done that in the first week, I'd have been even lower than I was, and I was really low. I was very close to the edge, of hypoglycemia. I was actually riding around with sort of flapjacks in my saddlebag, just in case I got the knock and hypoglycemia. That was a precaution, really. But the trouble is, when you go through adaptation, you get really strong cravings for that sort of food because your body's so used to dealing with the sort of more sugary stuff. If you sort of suddenly take it away, then you start getting the cravings. I was riding around for hundreds and thousands of miles even, really wishing I could eat bread and flapjacks that I was carrying and things like that, but I just kept going and got on with it. So I'm not sure whether sort of someone who hasn't done the adaptation would get on with my diet very well, because I sort of basically train myself sort of not to produce much insulin when I eat, and I think I know people that do eat similar foods to me. They've cut out wheat and everything, but they still need to keep eating all the time because they still get hungry all the time. And I don't know, but I think it's because they're still producing quite as much insulin as they would have done before when they were eating all the sort of sugary stuff and wheats. I do know people that have cut sugar and wheat from their diet and they've lost a lot of weight from it and they've done really well. But because of sort of my weight sort of dropping and then suddenly getting stable, and that I can keep going for sort of quite a long time without getting hungry. And even in training, I've done pretty high intensity stuff. I've done sort of functional threshold stuff. I'm probably up to about half hour, I suppose. I can't remember. I have to go through my training things, but I do the sort of higher end intensity stuff in training, and I don't get the knock. I did go up on the 100-mile time trial, but that's basically because I sort of based all the feeding on it being 4-hour event, or 4.5 hours, and it turned out to be quite a tough course. I didn't know that, and it took me a bit longer than I expected, and that just pushed me past the edge. So I sort of went backwards in the last 20-mile lap. But the lap before that, I felt good. I just ran out because basically got me feeding wrong. I didn't eat a single thing on the event. I should have sort of ate a little bit more. But that was the first 100 I've done, so you learn, and it worked really well on the 12-hour and the 24 hours. I've got 2 12 hours and the 24. Another thing that sort of happened to me since I've taken on this diet is that I no longer enjoy the sort of sugary stuff so much now. It's still okay. It's still quite nice, but cake and biscuits and things they've sort of lost their appeal. But on the other hand, vegetables they taste even better than they did before. My weight's a lot more stable than it used to be. I sort of noticed that the last decade or so, even though I've still done quite a lot of miles, my weight's just been creeping up gradually. But since I've sort of cut out the wheat and sugary stuff, I'm a lot more stable than I used to be. My weight and it doesn't go up. I'm probably about 10 kilos lighter than I used to be, and that seems to work really well. And I do seem to be able to go longer without eating so much. I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else. I'm supposed to eat an apple every day because of the health benefits. I do get a cheat meal once a week where I just eat anything I like, as long as I eat protein first. I can have a bit of cake now and then as a sort of rare treat. I don't do it very often. Because I'm well enough adapted, so I'm not on a keto diet or anything like that. It's just basically cutting out wheat and sugary stuff and not eating so much fruit, because fruit's quite high glycemic index. It's very high glycemic index. That's about it really. I hope I've sort of got the basics of it over. I'm not an expert or anything, and you really want to check out and look into it yourself if you want to see if it works for you or not, or just experiment. So I hope that's about it. Bye.